Okay, awesome. Well, welcome TSG. If you guys have not muted your phones, go ahead and mute them. And if you want to hop on video, we'd love to see y'all. I'm excited for you all to get to spend time with Stephanie Cashwell, our Director of Marketing and Communications here at TSG. If you haven't worked with Stephanie before, she is definitely an expert in her craft. She knows the TSG brand inside and out, and is personally my go-to person for feedback on content that I need to share or present. Stephanie went through the Women in Business program in 2019 and wanted the opportunity to give back to the program. So today she's going to share with you her skills on preparing for presentations that'll be helpful inside and outside of TSG. So Steph, thank you for being here, and I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Missy. I really appreciate the opportunity getting to speak to everyone today. As you mentioned, I'm a 2019 Women in Business graduate, and I truly believe in the power of this program. I had the opportunity to really build relationships with my fellow WIB team members. I had the opportunity to learn from keynote speakers, and I really had the opportunity and was the exposure on business making decisions involved with the action learning projects. I had the opportunity to present on diversity and inclusion last year at TSG, and it's been so gratifying getting to see our research and our recommendations really come to life this year, and I hope each of you have that opportunity with your projects this year as well. Before we dive in, I'd like to do a quick poll. So if you guys wouldn't mind, raise your hand if you've seen or heard the Hamilton musical. Now, that could have been a live production, you could have seen it on Disney Plus, or even just listened to the soundtrack. All right, so yeah, if you're like me, you've listened to the soundtrack way more times than you're willing to admit. Disney Plus keeps recommending More Like Hamilton every time you log in, and you cannot for the life of you get da-da-dee-da-da out of your head no matter how hard you try. So today I'm going to focus my presentation on a Hamilton-inspired guide to digital presentations. This is time to take a shot. You know, as I have my unyielding love for Hamilton, this Broadway smash hit reminds me and reminds each of you the keys to success when giving a stellar presentation that will leave your audience wanting more and giving you that feeling of satisfaction once it's over. And today is Women's Equality Day. We're celebrating women using their voice to share their story, educate others, and inspire those around them to continue fighting for what you're most passionate about. Just like Alexander Hamilton's plight in our culture's favorite new obsession, Hamilton, an American musical. All right, guys, strap in. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's dig in. Many of us have taken a public speaking course in the past, or you've had the opportunity to give presentations previously, but it's always good to continue refreshing and refining your skills around digital presentations, especially since we are spending more and more time in front of our computers. I'm calling these the 10 Prez Commandments. Let's go ahead and dig into commandment number 1. All right, you've got to give a presentation. Your stomach turns, and you can't even imagine the thought of having to get up in front of people and speak. But I encourage you to look at it from another perspective. You might be working towards a promotion right now. You may be passionate about talking to your coworkers or even your leadership about a specific skill or how valuable you are to the team. And maybe there's a topic that you're incredibly passionate about right now that you've thought tirelessly of, researched, and you want everyone to hear your perspective on it. Well, this is your time to shine. It's your chance to take that shot. I encourage you to look at this as an opportunity to tell your story. If you're not comfortable public speaking, you're at TSG. You got to get out of your comfort zone, and you need to tackle that new skill. I challenge you to flip the narrative in your head that you've created about a dreaded speaking requirement and turn it into your next great challenge to conquer. All right, number 2. This is your opportunity to tell a story. To me, the phrase giving a presentation just sounds really boring. Think of presenting as having an opportunity to tell your story. We are a storytelling culture built on the desire to envision the experiences of the past and dream of our opportunities for the future. When you're building the outline for your presentation, use each section of the presentation or each slide as a building block to describe your topic in a meaningful way. This will help you better capture the audience's attention, allowing them to relate to the information being shared at a higher level. All right, commandment number 3. Know your audience. Here's a story for you guys regarding the creator of Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda. So back in May of 2009, Lin was invited to perform for President Obama, his family, and members of the cabinet as part of the White House's Evening of Poetry, Music, and Spoken Word. He was originally supposed to present a number from his current Broadway smash hit at the time, In the Heights. However, Lin knew his audience, and he used the opportunity to debut the opening number from his passion project, which was currently titled The Hamilton Mixtape. That performance became the very first public appearance of Alexander Hamilton. And as you guys know, the rest is history. When you're pitching TSG to a customer, if you're working with a hiring manager or presenting your action learning projects to ELT, make sure you know as much as possible about who you are presenting to and tailor that information to them in order to make the biggest impact. Commandment number 4. This one is all about using your resources to build out and design your presentation. Aaron Burr in the play Hamilton offers him some great advice at the beginning of the musical. He tells Alexander to talk less and to smile more. And here's why I agree. Do not overstuff your slides with information. This is the worst thing you could do in terms of having a slide full of text that no one can read. Your presentation will be much less interesting, trust me. When you're designing your PowerPoint presentation, consider the slides to be just a visual reference or a visual enhancement to what you're going to be speaking about. Photos, graphics, animation, and even sometimes video can be super impactful to your presentation. If you have to use text in your slide, keep it short, to the point, and use large readable fonts. Avoid using cheesy clip art and try to use high-resolution imagery as much as possible. Since many of you will be doing research and presenting data for your action learning projects, let's talk about displaying data. All right, this spaghetti monster of a PowerPoint slide was created to help win the war against Afghanistan. When War Commander General Stanley McChrystal once joked when he saw the slide, "When we understand this thing, we will have won the war." If you're going to include any charts or graphs in your slides, make sure to simplify them. Keep the text as large as possible and use contrasting colors. If you're going to use charts and graphs, keep them very basic. Only add maybe 1 or 2 max charts on a slide at a time. Be sure you're able to speak to the data and help describe it during your presentation. So PowerPoint's awesome. It's got some really helpful tools for you guys to create visually impactful designs with little to no experience working in PowerPoint. What you're seeing here is an example of using PowerPoint design ideas, which you guys all have access to within Office 365. I'll be sending out some resources after today's call that can help you tackle a flawless PowerPoint design. All right, commandment number 5, speaking tips. Hamilton, the play, provides some awesome speaking tips for you guys, so I wanted to hone in on some of those. First up, don't read off your slides or rely on them to fully convey your talking points. Utilize the notes section in PowerPoint to drop in your script or talking points that you'll know and practice for the future. Watch out for any distracting vocal or facial tics, including the excessive usage of filler words, which I am super guilty of. You might have caught a few today, like, or pauses when you're less than confident in what you're going to say next. A good tip is to remember to be silent than to use a tick to fill the silence. All right, this is one of the toughest ones for me. You guys might notice it today, but slow down. Make sure you're speaking at a slower cadence than your normal conversational speech. Try to avoid repeating yourself and using repetitive or grandiose hand gestures, as this can distract from your credibility and seem out of place in the context of a computer screen. And finally, appearance. Be mindful of your appearance, including appropriate dress and grooming, as well as your backdrop. Trust me, clutter does not look good on screen, and you want to make sure you test your lighting out beforehand. It's great to have lighting in front of you rather than behind you, so that way you're not backlit and look really shadowy and dark on screen in front of your camera. Make sure you leverage your practice runs for the action learning projects, and make sure you get feedback from your team members to make sure that your setup feels great. Number 6, The Room Where It Happens, probably one of my favorite songs in the play. But this is really important in terms of knowing the platform that you're going to be presenting on. Do you know what it is for your upcoming presentation? Have you used it before? Are you comfortable presenting in it? Are you going to be dialing in for audio, or are you going to be using audio through your computer? Make sure that you've checked all these boxes prior to your presentation. Also, practice knowing which screen to share before you present. That one always trips me up, especially when you have multiple screens. Fumbling at the beginning of a presentation with technical issues starts the whole presentation off on a shaky foot in a world where first impressions are everything. Pro tip: if you're dialing in on the phone and you're joining via video on the web, make sure your phone is synced with a name login. To do this, make sure to call in using the access code or attendee ID to sync both your accounts together. Apologize for the background noise, guys. I've got some kids in the background with me, so bear with me a little bit. All right, commandment number 7, which is arguably to me the most important commandment of all of them. Make sure you build in time for practice runs, not just for the presentations, but for other events, even if it's a client meeting or you've got a candidate call coming up. Ask a trusted colleague or family member if you can run through the presentation beforehand to get all the kinks out. Think of this like a role play with a candidate or even a sales pitch. Running through a presentation in your head will not get you the face time you need to be comfortable with it. Number 8, it's showtime. All right, so some people need help hyping up for a presentation, and maybe some of you need help hyping down and doing some breathing to calm you down before a presentation. Whichever your preferred method, it's important to get the right mindset and allow yourself plenty of time for mental prep. Make sure your internet connection is on point, your camera and mic are well positioned, and above all else, try not to get flustered if something goes wrong. Technical difficulties during video meetings are painful for everyone, but these can be amplified if the presenter goes into panic mode. Just stay calm and collected and stay cool while you and the moderator helps troubleshoot any issues prior to the meeting. All right, commandment number 9, ask for feedback. Whether you come out of the presentation feeling triumphant or just give yourself some credit and gratitude for the work and effort you've put into the event. Take some time with your group, reflect on any of those tough questions you faced during the Q&A or any bumpy spots while delivering the information. But above all, make sure to discuss what you feel like went well and make sure that you get that satisfaction of a job well done after the fact. And finally, commandment number 10. All right, you didn't think I could go the entire presentation without mentioning everyone's favorite King George, did you? Well, when it comes to presentations, there will always be another one sometime in the future. Use your experiences, use what inspired you and what fell flat like a pancake to help shape your presentations for the next time around. If you have access to the recording, be sure to watch it, no matter how cringy it may make you feel hearing your own voice. Be sure to take notes, tuck those notes away for the next time, because you'll be back. Soon you'll see. All right. Next time, in summation, I hope you took away some valuable advice today during these 10 commandment talking points. When someone asks you to present on the topic, instead of saying, awesome, wow, I hope that you feel confident and you're ready to take that shot to present on the topic and have your time to shine. All right, I flew through that pretty fast. I was a little nervous, but at this point, I want to encourage you ladies to work it for your presentations in the coming weeks. And at this time, I want to open it up for any questions for you guys.
I don't have a question, but that was awesome.
I have a question, Steph.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, first of all, I am a huge Hamilton fan, so love that the whole way through, all the references. I was like, I need to go listen to the soundtrack now. But question, I know last year when I did the action learning project, I like to say I'm a decent public speaker, but it's pretty nerve-wracking, like going in front of our ELT and really giving these suggestions and speaking about your opinions on these like hard topics. So what advice maybe do you have for the 2020 cohort, like going into action learning and maybe pumping themselves up or how to calm themselves down going into an environment like that?
Absolutely. So I'll take pump up first. So I'm a big person that leverages music in order to get myself hyped up. I'm a big rap fan, if any of you guys know me. So use music, use something that just gets you excited or happy in general to help kind of get the motion, momentum, maybe jump up and down, do a couple jumping jacks. That just helps to get the blood flowing and gets you excited. On the flip side, if you're trying to calm down, actually what I did before the call, I did like some mental meditation. I did some deep breathing. Try to really visualize the presentation ahead of time. Practicing will really help you with calming your nerves, because the more rehearsed you are, the more well practiced you are, the better it will go. So breathing, meditation, calming, stuff to calm down, music, getting your body moving, just getting the blood pumping to hype yourself up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph, it's Eldeb. Question on my end in terms of prepping for, I guess, the unexpected. So twofold question. One is the technical aspect, right? I think, especially with all of us being remote right now, and you really can't prepare for all of the different technology oopsies that can happen. So any advice on prepping from a technical perspective? And then also on the flip side of that, were there any techniques that you felt help with prepping for unexpected questions as it related to your business topics?
Yeah, I think for both of those, I would go back to practice again and dress rehearsals. So on the technical side, for example, I went into WebEx today and was really focused on just practicing in WebEx, seeing what my video looked like, seeing what the platform did, and when I clicked this button, what happened. So that way I was just a little bit better prepared for any potential technology kinks that came up. And it's always good to do that with other people as well, if you can, just so you can, again, try to predict, ahead of time if there will be any of those hiccups. And again, it's just especially important to make sure that you practice in the actual platform that you're going to be presenting in, because that's going to be different. Zoom's a little bit different from Teams, which is a little bit different from WebEx. So just make sure that you spend that time, you really carve it out, and you know what to expect when it comes to presenting. In terms of, remind me your second question again, Eldeb.
Yeah, it was just around like preparing for like questions that you may get from like your audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, if you practice in front of an audience ahead of time, that will, you'll ask them for questions, right? They naturally might have some of those questions and those gaps that you didn't think of in your presentation or your research ahead of time. One of my slides was about, having talk less, smile more. I really recommend not putting all of your data and research into your presentation. That's really what the Q&A is going to be for. You still need to be knowledgeable and be able to reference and talk to all the data that you've gathered. But sometimes it can be more helpful just to speak to it and be ready with it in that Q&A section, rather than adding, a ton more slides in with all your data and research. You may not end up using it, but either way, you're prepared and you're most knowledgeable on the topic when you go into it for the Q&A. That might help you, in addressing some of those gotcha questions at the end.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, Stephanie, I had a quick question. That was really amazing, by the way. Amazing job. I know, so you kind of just mentioned this, but some of the groups are going to be surveying, maybe like internal TSG employees. So do you have any suggestions there, just as far as like when you're putting together a survey, like the most effective ways to do that? And then like any like tools that maybe you have used that you recommend the groups like utilizing for surveys?
Yeah, if you're internaling TSG employees, we all have access to Microsoft Forms. It's built into Office 365. It's in your Office 365 suite, which I can send you some information on how to access. It's a decent survey tool. It's not super complex and robust. It doesn't have like logic built into it or anything to ask, complex if-then questions, but it can do all your basic survey functions. And then it's easy for you and your team members to share and access all the data from it. So, if it's just a basic survey you're sending out to internal employees, and you can actually send it out externally as well, I recommend using Microsoft Forms. It's free. It's not as complex as using something like SurveyMonkey or Survey Gizmo. So that's a good place to start. But if you do need more complex surveying tools, then you can look at one of those more advanced tools. In terms of surveying, I'll be honest, surveying's tough because you've really got to make sure you ask the questions in a way that doesn't lead them, is truly getting the data in a meaningful way, and whether you're using a Likert scale or you're using open text questions and stuff like that. So put a lot of time and thought into your survey. Ask someone else for feedback, maybe do a trial run of someone taking the survey so you can anticipate the types of responses that you're getting and make sure they align with the type of data you're trying to collect.
Awesome. That's really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, I'll send that link out to you guys on using Microsoft Forms, so that way you know where to go to find it, and it'll give you some starters on how to leverage the tool. What else can I answer for you guys? We have a decent amount of time left because I super flew through my presentation. So I'd be happy to show you guys PowerPoint design tools really quick and do a deep dive into what that looks like, so that way you guys can leverage it for your presentations, if that would be helpful.
That'd be great, Steph.
Okay, I'm going to share my
Stephanie.
screen. Oh yeah, hey Tom.
Hey, great job. One of the things I think you do really well, Steph, in these presentations is your cadence and your flow, right? And so how you're not just what you're presenting, but certainly how you're speaking through the content. Any recommendations on? I think sometimes folks struggle with: do I put in a script? Do I put in bullet points? How do I make that work and flow? Any recommendations for the team on sort of some of the things that you've kind of honed over the years?
Yeah. So for me, it goes back to that story that I mentioned and how I'm telling a story. When we think about, we learned almost in elementary school, it's the who, what, when, where, how, right? Am I hitting all of those bullet points in terms of who am I speaking to? Who am I talking about? What are they doing? What's the points that I'm trying to get across here? Here's my argument, and then here's my supporting bullet points in terms of how I'm trying to convey that message or present the data or the research that, I've collected with this. So it's organizing your thoughts ahead of time. Sometimes I get caught up that I like to go straight to the design of the PowerPoint, where really I need to back up and make sure that I have my outline of the presentation put together, or outline of my notes and talking points ahead of time. And that should really be structured like that story flow that I mentioned. And so that way you're setting it up and then you're going through it in a way that's most digestible to the audience. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think, just knowing the content is clearly key, right? And so to your point, organizing that in a way that's then consumable to whoever your audience is. Again, it's just something I've always recognized you've done incredibly well. So I think any insight you can give the team is great. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a bullet points person. When I lay something out, I have to have it organized in, sub bullets. And so, that's a great way to at least just get your thoughts down of how you want to start your presentation, is that intro, sub bullet points, the meat of it, point 1, point 2, point 3. So that way you just know what you want to talk about and that you've got all those areas filled out and that you can build from it from there.
Perfect. All right, on to PowerPoint.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And everyone should have PowerPoint in your startup. Here it is. So once you go to PowerPoint, you can either start with a blank presentation, or there are some design recommendations here that you can start with. I'm going to start with a blank PowerPoint. So on your main tab, see here, I'm on the home, you'll see design ideas pop up right here. This is the magic sauce, you guys. Most of the slides in here that you saw me, I didn't design from hand. All I did was leverage what design ideas was helping me do. Even that glitter sparkle at the very beginning wasn't me, didn't do it, stole it from Microsoft PowerPoint design ideas. So this is an example of one that has the animation built into it. So, you know, it's fun to just click through these, but make sure that you find a theme. While the white roses are pretty and the sparkles are pretty, make sure that your theme really aligns with the information that you're presenting. So that way your design and your visual enhancements match what you're going to be talking about. Again, they should be visual enhancements to the presentation that you're giving. So once you select these, you can go ahead and just type in your title and your subtitle. And the great thing about PowerPoint is that as you type in or add content to the screen, it's going to continue to be populating different ideas or slide designs for you in your right-hand column. Again, it takes all the heavy lifting off for you in terms of being a designer and adding text boxes and making everything match up and look pretty. So once you've got your title slide done, or you can even save this for the end, just like going in and adding a new slide like regular, you know, title and content is typically going to be your most leveraged slide design. This is where you've got, you know, your header, and then you've got your bullet points or your blocks of text in here that you want to keep adding to. And again, that design ideas section on the right, that will just keep populating for you in terms of, you know, different ways that you can display it. So I'm going to pause there and then open it up for some questions if you guys have anything you want me to demo or show you more specifically.
Steph, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I remember when we were doing our PowerPoint, I was really worried about like the data, and I wanted numbers to be like super present, but it was a lot on the slide. Is there a way that you can create different graphs and whatnot?
Yep. Oh, I think I lost you, Amber.
Oh, can you hear me? Sorry, it
Yep,
sounds
I got
super
you
weird
back.
on my end. Am I like super scratchy?
I think you're back now.
Okay, cool. Sorry. But yeah, if you don't mind maybe just showing like how to do that. I feel like I Googled so much how to get around in PowerPoint for that, and it's really confusing for me.
Yeah, great question. So, you know, PowerPoint does allow you to create charts and display graphs within PowerPoint itself. So, you know, you can leverage clicking on the little charts box that looks like this to insert a chart, and you can figure out which chart, you know, makes the most sense to present your data. I'll be honest, this is always a tough one for me. So I might play around with, okay, does a pie chart work here better? Does the column chart look better here? I might even Google it, you know, what chart to best present this data. So, you know, just make sure you give yourself plenty of time to design these, because these can be complex, especially if you're needing to add in a lot of data around those individual slides. So, you know, if you have your pie chart, it will drop it into the slide for you. And the great part is that it will help you design around the design ideas still work when you're leveraging charts and graphs within here. And then you just go in and add your data appropriately. Let's see here. There's also one of the things that I really like to leverage. Let me just create a new slide here. I really like leveraging the smart art graphs and charts. If you're trying to show a list of things or process or cycles, this can be really helpful in visually displaying that data. So if you're showing a process and how, you know, that process flows, you've got step 1 and then step 2. You know, you really can, Steph, I'm so used to typing Steph. Step 2, this is just a really great way to help visually display that. And one of the great things about PowerPoint design ideas is that if you just start dropping in lists onto the slide, it will automatically suggest adding one of those smart charts in. So again, you have step one, step 2, step 3, come over here to my home tab, select design ideas, and it's going to recommend a couple different options for me to leverage the smart charts on the slide. It's probably one of my favorite features about the design ideas in PowerPoint. Say you went ahead and started with a theme. So we picked our rose theme, but then we realized, gosh, you know what? This really just doesn't match the tone or the visuals of the presentation that I'm trying to deliver. No worries. Come over here to your design section, and you've got a ton of different design themes that you can easily create or update your presentation with. And it will typically go through and update all the slides. You saw all of those change here on the left. It might not have changed my slide update here, so I can easily just delete that and start fresh with something else. Another great tool is leveraging photos in your presentation. And you can actually search for those online. You can either search for stock images right through PowerPoint by going to the Insert tab, clicking Pictures. And then, it provides options for you directly to add to your PowerPoint, which is really nice. You don't even have to go look on the web. Stock images are provided right there within the tool. All right, I'll pause there.
Oh,
Steph, it's Sabrina. Hey, I love the design ideas. This makes my PowerPoint looks amazing. So yeah. I'm so glad that, I don't know when they did that, but I've always struggled with PowerPoint and I hate it, but everyone uses it to do everything. And at Cisco, they used it to show their projects. But ever since they implemented design ideas, it's really just added that extra oomph. So thank you for going through that.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of design ideas. And it's one of those that the more you get comfortable with it, the more you'll start to leverage the tools in there, click around and do some cool stuff.
Hey, Steph, I have a quick question for you. I don't think they're called transitions because I'm thinking of like how you add data to the page that you're currently on. So like trickling in information as you're talking about it. I've always struggled with that function in PowerPoint. Can you run us through that?
So, okay, so that's a good question really quick. There's transitions and then there's animations. Transitions are the way that these slides change in between slides and how that looks. So more, for example, we'll add that here and then I'll go into full screen mode. Instead of just having the slide click to the next one, here you'll have to add it to all of these. We'll do morph here and then go to present. So you'll see that the slides are morphing into each other rather than just clicking to the next slide. It adds just another layer of, that visual enhancement, that kind of finesse to making the presentation look good. Animations are when you have particular content on the slide that pops up or moves in or moves out while you have the slide displayed. So you'll notice that, I turned the guy Hamilton into a woman. What I did was just added little pieces of shapes to the slide that all zoomed in at one time. And that was just an animation in order to make it change in the middle of the slide. So for example, if we come in here and click appear, then when we go to present it, those steps won't pop up until we're ready to talk about them. And in this instance, they're on click, so you can click to make those appear. Did that answer your question, Hannah? I want to make sure I captured it correctly.
Yeah, that was perfect around animations.
Yep. And I mean, you can get pretty complex with the animations. It's always good to, when you're designing animations, go into the animations tab and then look at your animations pane. This will help you figure out what current animations you have, on the slide, and will allow you to adjust, when they happen, the timing. You can even have them happen automatically, instead of on click, and then you can, tell it to start 5 seconds after you get to the next slide or something.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?
Well, I think we're good, Steph. I just want to comment that since Stephanie has showed me the design function in PowerPoint, I've felt so much better about my presentations that I'm putting together. Just gives you a lot more confidence when you feel really sure of what you're putting up there. So really easy to use once you just start playing around with it. So thank you for that. Just one last pause. Any other questions for Steph, or are we good to wrap up? All right.
Just a heads up, I will be sending out resources to the group of some of the things I mentioned today throughout the presentation, and just want to offer my help to you guys, that if you got a question about PowerPoint or Microsoft Forms or any of the other tools we talked about today, shoot me a chat in Teams. I'm always happy to help and be a second set of eyes for you guys, and really excited to see what you guys do with your action learning projects. I'm really happy that I got invited to speak to you guys today.
Cool. Thanks, Steph. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll talk to you later.
Great job, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. That was awesome.
Yep, great information. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.